Hello everyone, Chris Guthrie here, host of the Sellercast podcast, and in today's episode I speak with Don from nerdwax.com, who recently was on the hit show Shark Tank. We're going to talk about that experience as well as what he was doing sales-wise after he filmed his episode, and then also, of course, after the episode aired. So let's dive into it. He has a lot of great attitudes about what you should do when you build a business and the way you should approach your customers and the way you should communicate with them and build relationships. And I know you're going to love what we have to share today. So let's dig in right now. Hello everyone, Chris Guthrie here, and today with me I have Don, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey Chris, how's it going?
Doing well. So I know we're going to talk about a lot of different stuff about your business. I know that what most people will be familiar with is that you were on Shark Tank recently, and so we'll dive into that. But before we get into that, can you maybe tell us a little bit more about your company, what products you sell, and maybe how you decided to actually sell in the first place?
Absolutely. So about 5 years ago, I was a touring audio engineer, and we did a lot of outdoor concerts during the summer. And my glasses were always sliding down my nose and driving me crazy. And I actually lost a pair of glasses one time because I took them off and set them on a lighting rig, and somebody turned on the lighting rig and melted my glasses. And so it was a major problem for me. I'd look down to grab an amp and my glasses would just fall off of my face. We'd be like in Florida and it'd be 100 degrees and humid. And so I can remember the exact moment I had the idea for Nerdwax, and we were in Texas, and the artist I was working for, Julianne Hough, was looking right into the sun. And she had these big aviator sunglasses on, and they kept sliding down, and she'd have to stop playing guitar to push them back up. And I was sitting there behind the console, and I just thought, I bet I could make something for your glasses that would keep them up, but it wouldn't be a strap or a band or a hook or any of these things that I've tried that I hate. And so I remember calling my wife right after the show, and I was like, babe, I have the best idea. And she was kind of like, whatever. Like, you get these ideas all the time. Like, what is it? And so I told her, I bet I could make this all natural wax that you could put on your glasses to keep them from sliding down. And she's like, okay. And I don't think she took me seriously until boxes of wax and tubes started showing up on our doorstep. And I just started making it in our kitchen. I'd take it out on the road with me, and then I'd use it on myself, and I'd figured out what works and what didn't work. And it took me a few years to get the product going and got it right where I wanted it. I was giving out to friends and family and seeing what people thought about it, and kind of tweaked until I got right to the place that I liked it. And around that point in time, we actually had a huge kind of life-changing week where my wife broke her ankle, both our cars broke down, our landlord called and said he wasn't going to renew our lease. And it was this moment where I kind of looked up and said, I gotta make a change and do something different. And so I made the decision to get off the road, and I took 2 jobs in town, and I put Nerdwax on hold, and I really just kind of packed it all up in a box and put it down in our basement. And it was probably 2 years after I had done that I was sitting there, and I had tubes around the house that I used for myself. And I thought, like, I'm tired of waiting on this. People were asking me, to make more for them. And I thought, I just need to get started. Like, I got to go do something and make this thing happen, or else it's just never going to happen. Like, I'm going to have this idea forever, and I got to try. And so at the time we were completely broke. We didn't have any money to start a business. And I thought, I'm going to go to Kickstarter, and I'm just going to go for the smallest amount possible. I'm going to reach out, and for $5,000, that'll get me the labels, and that'll get me enough to get the first 1,000 tubes made. And then we'll go from there. And so we launched the Kickstarter in April of last year, with the goal of raising $5,000 for the first production run. And we hit that goal before noon on the first day of the campaign. It was pretty nuts. By the end of the campaign, we'd raised over $61,000 and from 3,000 backers. So we had a huge response. And that really started the whole, I think we got to launch a business now. Like, we got people that want it, and let's online and let's sell it. And that was last April. We finished up the Kickstarter project in September of last year, and we started shipping via our website last September. So that we did Shark Tank. October 9th was when we aired on Shark Tank. So it's just a little bit over a year of actually being a product and selling online that we went on Shark Tank, and it's been nuts.
Yeah, one of the things I was going to ask you, and first of all, thanks for that story kind of going into the background and everything. And I think that you hit something that I want to point out, just the fact that, you had something that you tried and you kind of set it aside. And then ultimately you decided, okay, I actually want to get back to this and really make it happen. Because I think sometimes people out there, they may have ideas like this, they get started and then they don't really go anywhere, or they get to a certain stage and then they kind of put them aside. And so I think it's great that you push through and then went for it.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah. And so one other thing too, I actually want to mention, I wear glasses as well, and I have the same exact problems. And I didn't know about your product until more recently, and so I was going to be buying some myself actually. But getting back to the story, I noticed actually on your Kickstarter page you had a lot of different press mentions. So were those from before the time when you had the project kind of going along and you're getting some press then, or was it all from?
It was all
when you did the Kickstarter.
Yeah, no, it was all from the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter community is such an amazing community of people, and when we launched, we really just kind of thought, this is going to be something for our friends and family and our extended network, and that'll probably be the extent of it. And we actually launched at midnight. So that we could get all of our links together for social, and there's no way to kind of grab those until you hit live on the campaign. And so we launched at midnight with the intention of getting all of our links together for 8 a.m. and then kind of pushing out to our social networks. And we had friends and family who were kind of scheduled to share, and we were going to do this whole big launch. And I hit go on the campaign, and within, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds, we had our first backer. And I was like, I haven't even told anybody we launched yet. What just happened? And I realized there's somebody in Singapore, and I was like, oh, there's somebody on the other side of the world that's awake that follows Kickstarter projects, and they're looking for cool new stuff. And they were like, sure, I'll give you $10. And so we went to bed that night. By the time we woke up, we had already raised $1,700 in our sleep. So the rest of it was just kind of we launched at 8 a.m. via our social campaign that we had started, and it just took off. And we had a friend of a friend who promoted it on social, and that they had a friend who worked for Mashable, so Mashable picked us up, and they did it, and they put us on there. Somebody from Uncrate was looking around, scoping the internet for cool new stuff, and found us. And put us in an EDC, and we were on there. BuzzFeed put us on a list of tips for glasses wearers. So, the internet's always looking for cool, fun, new stuff to talk about. Kickstarter was really the driver in getting us in front of those people. And I credit it fully to the Kickstarter community. It's just an awesome group of people who love new projects and new fun ideas and love to be a part of the process. We had a bunch of issues during our Kickstarter, and all of our backers were so supportive. As long as you communicate to your backers and you're really making them a part of the process, they love it. I got so much support from people being like, hey, we're behind you. We got your back. Don't worry, it's going to happen. And that was so meaningful. And I can't stress enough, if you have an idea, if you're looking to do something, find a community like Kickstarter, or find one, in your town, an entrepreneur center, or somewhere where you can get involved in the community of people who are like-minded, because that one aspect is so huge for when it gets tough, because it gets tough for everybody. When it gets tough, you need community around you to support you and kind of keep you going.
Definitely. That's great points. And I'm curious too, and let's actually start to slowly transition up toward the present time. So what did you do after Kickstarter, right? Because I know that sometimes people, they raise a bunch of money in Kickstarter, and then it's, okay, how do we continue that momentum forward?
Absolutely.
So after that Kickstarter launch, what did you do to kind of keep things going?
Yeah.
And then that can kind of lead us up to the Shark Tank time.
Great. Yeah. So that's actually a great transitional point. So what we did is we launched our Kickstarter, and like I said, in April. We had two different stages to our Kickstarter. In the first stage, we did it all by hand. So we did the first 2,000 units all by ourselves, my wife and I, and we made all of them. And then we joined with a manufacturing partner for the second stage of units. That would be all remaining units. I think one thing is to always plan for not only for failure, but plan for successes. So a lot of times as a business owner, you're looking at what's the worst case scenario? What's the worst thing that can happen? And you don't think about what's the what's the best case scenario, and beyond that, what happens if we exceed the best case scenario, and go crazy. And a lot of Kickstarter projects fail because they get too big. I don't know if you're familiar, like with Flint and Tinder, but they had a product. They wanted to bring manufacturing back to Brooklyn. They had an underwear project, and I think their goal was $3,000, and they ended up raising $300,000 by the end of the campaign, and they actually lost 30 grand on the project. And in my research, I found that story and really realized, hey, you got to not only plan for what happens if things go wrong, you got to have a plan for what things can go right. So I knew what we could handle on our own, and then I knew we needed to scale it. So we went to a factory to do that stage 2, because we knew that they could do 10,000 units in about 30 minutes. And so we joined with a manufacturing partner during the second half of our Kickstarter to do our product. Everything went really smooth, right on schedule, until the day that they actually ran our tubes. All of our tubes came off the line completely defective.
Oh no.
Yeah. And what we found out is that our product is tacky, lip balm is greasy. And so it's a completely different formulation. And the process that we use to fill the tubes is very manual, and it ends up kind of making that so that we can actually use that tube. The minute you automate the process, the whole thing goes to crap, and all the tubes locked up, they wouldn't work, they would break. And so we lost a ton of inventory, and found a solution with them. They were great partners. We worked something out, but that meant we had to go back to making it by hand. So we spent basically September is when we shipped for our Kickstarter. We spent all of that time up till September just trying to make inventory and figure out how to fix this manufacturing issue and get things going. So in September, when we launched kind of post Kickstarter, we hit the ground running on our website. It was just a scramble to get inventory and to improve our processes. From the very beginning, my mindset has always been to grow this into something that would be like a turnkey for us. So either I have a fulfillment partner and a distribution partner and a manufacturing partner, and I handle the stuff that I really enjoy, which is the customer service end and the marketing and sales and that kind of stuff. And either that scenario or something where we run this, we build the supply chain, and we sell off to another company that wants the brand as kind of an extension to their product line. So with that goal in mind, we hadn't prepared fully for doing manufacturing this by ourselves long term. So we have been, since September and through till now, have been manufacturing this ourselves out of our house and have been trying to grow and continually process that. So you asked me this question about what have we been doing since the Kickstarter to keep things going, and the answer is not a whole lot on sales. We have just been trying to keep up with the inventory and the demand that there's been online for our product. We are just now starting to kind of in the last 3 or 4 months actually get smart about our sales and go out and actually move product. And a big reason that we have been kind of not doing that is that, and I think if you watch Shark Tank, one of the big feedbacks we got from the sharks was that we needed to lower our price point, and we need to basically decrease the amount of product so that people get less runtime with our product. Well, that would be a nightmare scenario for us right now, and I kind of said as much in the tank, but you didn't get to see that part. It would be a nightmare for us because right now we can't keep up with the demand that we have, and if we were going to increase volume like that tomorrow, we would tank. We wouldn't be able to do it. And so we are figuring out those solutions to be able to scale and to be able to move quickly. And every day we figure out something that helps us get closer to that. And we're working with partners to redesign our tube and get back into an automated facility. But I wish it was that easy. I wish you could just call them up and get the thing done. But business moves at the pace that it moves, and so we are continually learning and improving our processes every day and improving our sales techniques. And but yeah,
Yeah, no, that was
a long way around to your question.
Yeah, no, that was one of the questions I had. Is that I watched the episode and they did a little segment before you came on and pitched the Sharks, and you talked about how you were doing it yourself right now. And that was one of the questions: is if you have had transitions out of that yet or not.
Yep.
But it sounds like in terms of your long-term goals for making it more turnkey and maybe even a potential sale down the road, that's definitely a sound strategy. It makes sense to me to try and get to that point. But yeah, I can see how if you're doing all the fulfillment yourself, then you've got to deal with trying to sell a product and everything else, and that's going to cost them a bunch of extra problems as well.
Yeah.
So then, actually, I have a few questions about Shark Tank specifically.
Yeah,
so,
shoot.
First, because I know some people maybe have heard of other people that have been on the podcast. I know this is, for us at least, it's the first time we've ever had anyone on that's been on Shark Tank. How did you actually get onto the show, and can you give us a little bit of a brief background about why you decided to try and do it, and maybe how that process worked for people that are curious?
Absolutely. So we had some friends that were on the show in season 5, and we kind of asked them about the process. And basically, the process is the same for everybody. You got to go through the casting director, and you can do that through their website, abc.com or abcgo.com. And then they have in the Shark Tank page, there's just a single email that you send out, and the casting director looks through all of those and kind of sorts them. And she's pretty on top of her game. So she goes through, I think that they said they do they get about 100,000 applications per season, and then out of those 100,000, they shoot 100 or so entrepreneurs. So it's a pretty crazy process, and they got a lot of stuff to sort through. But I think the key to kind of getting on Shark Tank is having something compelling. Now, there's people that get on, and if anybody has watched the show, like there's people from all different sorts of the business spectrum on there, and they got to have entertainment. They got to have stuff from all over. But if you want to take your business and it's a legitimate business, and you're looking for an investment, and you want to go on the show, I think the key is to they're making TV. And so you kind of got to sell them on why you make for good TV. And the easiest link that they have to be able to see that you will make it for good TV, I think the easier it will be for you to kind of get through the various hoops and gatekeepers that they have for the show.
It definitely makes sense. I had a friend that did casting in LA for a while, and he said that it was always just like trying to find really interesting people, or people that look like they'd be entertaining. But yeah, that's interesting to see. That's the same thing online. So the other question I had is, you mentioned before your episode aired October 9th. I actually checked this just to confirm, but when did you actually record that episode then?
We recorded in June. So they do 2 pods of filming. They do one set of entrepreneurs in June and one set in September. And the way that the process works, they kind of hold all the cards. And so they're very great to work with, but there's a lot that goes in that production behind the scenes.
Okay, so the other question I had is, your episode aired on October 9th, 2015. So when did you actually record that episode then?
Yeah, so we actually recorded in June of this year. They shoot 2 different pods of entrepreneurs, one in June and one in September. And that probably changes from year to year. And they got a lot of kind of things that go into the process of making a TV show. But when you go into the tank, they really hold all the cards. And you are kind of subject to, they overshoot. Just kind of like when you're boarding an airplane, they don't know how many episodes ABC will air and want to continue on, and so you don't know. Anytime you go into the tank, you don't know if you're going to air. You may get a deal and they don't air your episode for whatever reason, and so that whole waiting time from June to October was so nerve-wracking. We basically found out 2 weeks before we went on the show that we were going to air, and it was a mad scramble to get ready and go.
Geez, so it's one of these things where you think it might happen, but knowing the odds just to even make it to the point of being filmed, then you still kind of have a chance that it might not happen anyway. Exactly. So that's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's one of those things where you kind of like second out. You're like, man, did we make good compelling TV? Like what happened? Did we do enough? Should we have been more crazy? Like what should we have done? But luckily we did the best that we could. One of the main objectives in going on the show is just to represent our brand well, to tell people about our product, and to kind of tell our story and where we've been. And we got to do that. And I'm really thankful to the producers and editors who kind of allowed us to do that. You go in there for an hour, you're on the carpet, and you're at their mercy because they got to edit that down into 6 minutes. So you kind of think, man, they can make me say whatever or do whatever, and you're kind of putting a lot of faith into their editorial opinions about you. But I couldn't have been happier. They represented what happened in the tank very well, and they gave us a fair edit. We didn't take a deal that could have made us look stupid or look like idiots for not doing that. But I think that they represented why. I keep saying represented. They did a great job
fine.
representing kind of our opinions and why we walked away from the deal that we did. And so for that, I'm super thankful. I couldn't be more happy with our edit and our outcome from the show.
Yeah, I'd actually like to dive into that a little bit more. A few other questions about Shark Tank specifically. So you asked your deal, for those that may not have watched the episode, and if you haven't seen the episode, I'll link to it in the show notes, just sellercast.com/10, just the number 10. That'll be what can get you to the link to check it out. But you asked for $80,000 for 20% equity, and you received two different offers. I know Kevin, Mr. Wonderful, he did a venture debt deal, 10% of sales until he got $240,000 back, and then 3% of equity after that because he's Mr. Wonderful.
Exactly.
And then Troy Carter, the other guest shark, offered $80,000 in loan until $120,000 back, and then 10% equity. So you mentioned specifically that you didn't want to use debt in the businesses you don't have any right now. I was just curious if this is just a general aversion to debt, maybe from past experience building businesses before, or is it just, and also too, maybe just the deals weren't that attractive, right?
Yeah, it was both. When you've watched as much Shark Tank as I have, you understand when Kevin's making an offer that's based on him wanting to be involved in a business, or if he's just making an offer because he knows you're going to make that money and he's going to try to pull money out. And pulling money out of a business right when you're at the beginning stages is the worst thing that you can do. And they always hound entrepreneurs for doing that. If an entrepreneur is taking $100,000 salary out of the business right away, they just destroy them for that. And so I knew that the offers were not legitimate offers. One thing about the show is, only about 30% of the deals that you see made on TV actually go through due diligence, and actually those deals go through and get made. And so I just knew with them and the preference that they had to take that money out of the business right away, that there was no way we were going to actually close that deal and finalize that deal. So in going into the tank, we knew what we wanted, we knew who we wanted, and we were willing to walk away if we didn't get it. And so it was pretty easy to walk away from the offers that were there because we knew the value that our business has, and we knew the value of the Shark Tank platform, and that we would see that money kind of regardless of the deal being made. We really wanted to partner with Mark, and I think it was pretty evident that we were gunning for Mark the whole time.
I noticed that.
Him and his business development team just have lots of people have great things to say about them, and so we wanted to partner. We tried to make it really affordable for them to take a risk with us because we knew we were there really early. We knew we didn't have enough sales to really kind of get them extremely interested in our business, but I also knew we were at this point in our company where we needed some capital to grow. And we're going to do that in two different ways. We wanted to scale up what we do today, but we also need to redesign our packaging so we can get back into an automated facility and do that. And luckily, we've been able to do that moving forward. Kind of after we aired in June, or after we filmed. After we filmed in June, and we aired on October, we didn't ever stop. So after we went out and filmed, we just went right back to the drawing board and said, we got to keep this thing moving forward. So we went out and increased revenues and had the best month that we had the month before going on Shark Tank. And then Shark Tank just blew it out of the water.
Yeah, let's dive into that actually. So I was curious because you mentioned on the episode $136,000 in sales and $65,000 of it roughly in profit.
Yep.
So after that time leading up to Shark Tank, so from June onwards, how did your sales go? Did they continue to grow? I'm wondering if, the sharks maybe thought that they made a mistake. And I know, again, you mentioned before, it was still kind of early for the business, but It sounded like it continued to grow though.
Yeah, absolutely. So after we left the filming, that was another reason I wanted to walk away from those deals. Was I looked at, do I want to spend my summer out there selling and working on my product, or do I want to spend it dealing with Kevin's lawyers? And I was like, I'll choose the former. I want to go out there and like, I don't want to sit here and kind of go back and forth with them. So we went out and started hustling. We actually I think our sales to date, we right before the show were just over 200,000. So we did, 60, what is that, 64,000 or a little bit around that between June and the show. And that was just pure hustle. That was just us going out and stirring up the social conversation online, going out to, went to a trade show and kind of talked to some folks there, and then just started moving product to optical shops where we knew we could get in and get the customers that are walking in every day that need their glasses adjusted. And we can be there to help out with that. And then kind of post Shark Tank, it's just been absolutely insanity. So we're still trying to get our heads wrapped around numbers, but we've shipped over 12,000 orders in the last 18 days. And it's been nuts.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So we're recording this on October 27th. We'll be publishing it in November. And so I was curious to see, how much of a bump that is. I know that obviously people get on, they see the show and they go and buy the products that are mentioned, but I was curious to see in a real life example how that was. So that's great.
Yeah,
I think
it's a little bit of a wave. And so I did a lot of research and I've talked to a lot of Shark Tank companies to find out, hey, what did it look like after Shark Tank, and what did it look like for entrepreneurs that got deals and entrepreneurs that didn't get deals and entrepreneurs that walked away from deals, and kind of tried to get my head wrapped around what was happening in their worlds. And everybody kind of said the same thing, which is you get the initial wave of PR and then it kind of dies back down. But when it dies back down, there's a new normal. It's kind of like the tide has come in and now you got a new level. So I still don't know what our new normal is, and it's kind of leveled off week to the first week kind of leveled off, and then the second week kind of leveled off, and this third week seems to be much more like that second week. But we don't know yet. That's the crazy part. We're still pretty fresh into this, and we don't know what the future will hold. But moving forward, we're just focusing on repeatable marketing stuff that we know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Are you focused on those optical stores primarily, or what are the main channels you're focusing on to try and drive your sales? I know you're on Amazon, of course, but and you have your website sales.
Absolutely. So we're really a relational company, and forming those relationship with optical shops is our number one priority, because we know that our target customer is walking in there every single day, and we know that we have a product that takes a little bit of consumer education because it doesn't exist, and it's not just a strap that you literally just kind of hook onto your glasses. It takes a little bit for people to figure out how much to apply and how to apply it and that sort of thing. So it's really great to have an ally that's on the ground that actually likes and enjoys the product and sees its usefulness to be able to sit there and demo it. So we've been primarily focused on that, and then as well as just driving sales online. So that's where we have had the most success, and that's what we do. And all of our social has been very organic and very just kind of churning it by hand. Everybody wants the shortcut in social. I tend to come from the kind of Seth Godin camp where, I'd rather have 10,000 raving fans than a million, Instagram followers. I don't want to have a bunch of bots following me. I don't care about the size of the platform. I care about the quality of the interactions. And so all of our social has been aimed and targeted on getting those fans and building them, and turning detractors into promoters, and working on doing right by people. Because I think in business that's the number one key, is that you make sure that you can make things right with the people that don't enjoy your product. Because you when you start in business, you think everybody's going to like your thing. And the truth is that not everybody's going to like your thing. And the real kind of measure of success is there should be people. You should have somewhat polarizing product. If everybody likes it and thinks it's awesome, then they're probably lying to you. And so you need to have that kind of segment of your users that don't get it. And if they don't get it, then you're probably doing something right.
Yeah, that's great. It's great points. I had one other question that's related to the Shark Tank aspect of this kind of, when you're building a company, you talk about your numbers on a TV show, then you're instantly, everyone knows. It's like you've got your pants off, I guess you could say, and everyone sees everything. So I was curious, you mentioned on the show that you have a unique blend. Is your formula itself patented, or is that something that you have in place where you think, okay, this way people can't really come in and try and compete, or you figure we've already been building up, we've had a successful Kickstarter launch, we're leveraging that into other media opportunities and also now on Shark Tank, that you're going to have a pretty solid brand as it is there. And, if people want to compete, then they can compete.
Yeah. So when we first got started on this, I went the patent route, and I've actually been down the patent path 3 times with nerdwax. And what it comes down to is you can't patent putting wax on glasses as an idea. You can't get a utility patent for that. And so that means that you can get a chemical formulation patent, but a chemical formulation patent is pretty much useless. It's going to protect you. If you had a synthetic compound like a drug, or something like that, then the chemical formulation patent is going to help you out. But in my space where I'm using I have a formula, it's all natural and organic. Really, I have to keep it a trade secret. So that's where my protection is that I keep my formula a trade secret. Now, people that have actually done this, I know that it's not just your formula, it's your sourcing, it's your supply chain, it's all the things that you don't get unless you've actually done it, become protections. We've been hustling on this thing. So I've been making the product for 5 years. I know what works and what doesn't work. I also know that that's not going to stop people from copying me. I know and have known from day one that the minute this kind of gains traction, that there's going to be people kind of nipping at the heels with competing products. And we have put ourselves out there by being, kind of going out there and saying, hey, we need $10 for this tube that's going to last you 6 to 8 months, because we know we're only going to get maybe 2 transactions out of you a year if we're lucky. And so we've asked for a big ask in $10. And the margins that we set on the show are, it takes us 35 cents for a tube. However, that's not cost of doing business. That's just our cost of goods. So
of course,
most people when they hear that think, oh, like you have like $9 in profit. Like, no, we don't have $9 in profit. That's just our cost of goods sold. And that's a big thing with the public is most people don't understand the difference between gross and net. They don't understand cost of goods sold. They don't understand like your expenses and running business. We had 65K in profit, but we only took 20 out of the business. All the rest of that profit got turned right back into the business. And I was listening to a podcast where they're kind of critiquing me, and they're like, why are they in the tank if they had 65K in profit? I'm like, if you only knew, because the one guy said I was greedy, and I was like, I'm not greedy. I'm trying to run a business here. Like, if you had any concept of what it takes to build this thing, man. So like all said, and it's pretty unnerving being in the early stages and going out and talking about sensitive parts of your business. But the more I do this thing, I'm like, yeah, bring it on. If you want to try, this has been way harder than I thought it was going to be. And if you want to go ahead and go head to head with me, let's bring it. And it's only going to make me better, and it's only going to make our brand stronger because we're proud of our product. Like I said, some people aren't going to get it, but we're not for everybody. And for the ones that we are for, we're going to treat you right. We're always going to do right by you, and whatever that means and whatever that takes. We'll make sure that at the end of the day, that the experience that you had with our brand, you walk away going, man, that was awesome. I haven't had that experience with other products that I've purchased online.
I love it. I love your attitude about, if people want to compete, bring it. Yep. I think that's great. I think that, those natural barriers to entry are key. That's also helpful. But I also like that attitude that, if people are going to compete, how hard it is to build a business in the first place. that go ahead and bring it on,
Yep.
and then you can take them. So that's awesome.
Yep.
I know I told you before I wanted to try and keep it to a specific time, so I think we'll wrap it up here in a second. But is there anything else that you'd like to last minute add that's perhaps I didn't ask? I know when we talked ahead of time, there was plenty of directions we could go, but overall, I'm pleased with everything we covered. So
yeah, absolutely. So I mean, my thing for folks that are kind of getting into this space and they're selling online, your product is your baby, and you want to take care of it, and you want to kind of nurture it, and you have to be able to look at your business objectively. And I am able to stand firm when I have issues with customer service, or I have people that are not getting my product. I have already asked those questions. They're not telling me something that I don't already know about my product. You got to ask the hard questions. Mark always says in the tank, he's like, you gotta treat every day like somebody's out to kick your ass, and you got to think, how would I kick my own ass? And then you got to go out and you got to work from that standpoint. So when you're looking at your business, hustle like you're trying to beat yourself. Run your race. And it's really easy to get online and see everybody else in your space and figure out, what they're doing. Find out what you want to do, and then find ways to just keep making it better. And if you do that, that's going to be your edge. That's going to be your competitive advantage, and that's going to help you move forward into the future and build a brand.
Don, I love it. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing your experience. I think it was great. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris.
All right, and that was the episode with Don. I personally had a lot of fun speaking with him, not only because I think he had a great outlook in terms of business and how you should treat your customers, but also because it was great that he had been on Shark Tank and he was willing to share his numbers both leading up to the episode after he'd already recorded it, and then also how his sales were doing after the episode had already aired. I thought that was really cool insight, so hopefully you enjoyed it as well. One other thing I want to mention before we go, you can go to sellercast.com/now to sign up for a free trial of SalesBacker, which can help you get more reviews on Amazon. The more reviews you get on Amazon can help you drive more sales. Don's using it with nerdwax, and you can use it as well when you go to sellercast.com/now.